Hey, here we are, everybody. It's Season 2, Episode 5 of Let's Talk Phys Ed. Let's Talk Phys Ed is a show where we get to know some of the most influential people in the world of physical education. I'm Jason Steele. I'm your host. With me, as always, my co-host, Sarah Tanner Rose. Tanner, how are you?
I'm pretty good. Hey, you making fun of my little scar here? I was just telling you guys a story. So those of you that didn't see it, I was getting ready for a little Iowa workshop this morning, super early, and had the lights off when I was walking through the door, and I didn't make it through the door. A little scar to prove it. So that's what's going on here. Hey, anyway, moving on to business. Speaking of business, did you notice that, well, obviously Jason noticed, but hey, Ross, did you notice that Jason got our iTweet PE and Paddle Slam together? And he was able to get them to create some type of a shirt. And let me share it here. They've got these shirts here.
Yeah,
and
look at that.
The cool thing about it is, well, right here we've got the iTweet PE logo. Maybe if my computer's going to work. All right.
It is.
Flickering a little bit. We'll blame that on Jason. But yeah, iTweet PE logo's on there. And it's going to all go to a good cause with Brandon Wolf. Jason, you want to tell them about that?
Yeah, so Brandon and I had the chance to meet each other earlier this summer at a leadership summit. And he was talking about how he took this group of students over to Puerto Rico, and they did some, they taught some kind of activity. And last year they brought some, now I'm blanking.
Paddle Slam?
No, they're bringing Paddle Slam this year. Spike ball they brought last year. So they're bringing Paddle Slam this year. And we were able to kind of all get together. So Brandon, myself, and then Robert from Paddle Slam were able to kind of get together and design this shirt. And all the proceeds from that specific shirt will go to Brandon and his students to go over to Puerto Rico. So
that's awesome.
That's a great problem.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Very neat.
All right, Jason, let's do it.
So you guys have noticed, you've been on, you've listened to our little back and forth that Tanner and I do, but you've noticed this guy right here, obviously a huge influencer in the world of physical education. We have the pleasure tonight of being joined by Ross Chakrian. Ross, how are you today?
I'm doing awesome, fellas. I appreciate the opportunity to come on. Thanks for having me.
So great to have you on. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I am been teaching physical education in elementary school here in Central Maryland for the past 9 or so years. Before that, I actually went to the University of Northern Iowa, and Tanner and I were just kind of talking about that. He's repping it tonight. I'm not repping it as hard as he is, but I like it. And we're in direct conflict with our other host here. But just the way it goes. So I got my master's out there in what was called the Polar Scholar Program at the time, which is pretty neat. It's not there anymore, unfortunately, but it was a really neat opportunity for me to go and experience a new place, somewhere I probably wouldn't have gone to on my own. But it was a really great place for me to learn about how to use technology specifically in PE. So I got to use a lot of interesting technology when I was there, heart rate monitors. That's where I first started using projector daily in my lessons and things like that. And before that, I got my bachelor's degree here in Maryland, closer to the shore on eastern part of the state, at a university called Salisbury University. So that's kind of my background. But yeah, so I've been teaching PE happily for the past 9 years now, and wouldn't change a thing.
That's awesome.
Absolutely fantastic. Can you tell us just a little bit about 5-Star PE?
Yeah, so 5-Star PE is actually kind of the culminating, I guess, brainchild that came out of my time in Iowa. Me and a few of my other colleagues that went through that same program out there, through the Polar Scholar Program, at the time, we kind of decided that, you know what, we kind of want to make a bigger difference in the world of PE. And we've stayed in touch very, very closely over the years. And we kind of decided, you know what, let's try to make something happen here where we can kind of, push the envelope a little bit and try to bring PE more into the 21st century. So we try to do a lot of professional development stuff and conferences. We try to do grant writing. We try to do technology integration and really any kind of things that involve curriculum alignment kind of things for districts, schools, for whoever. So that's myself, Tony Loomis, who's a former 2014 National High School PE Teacher of the Year. He's up in Connecticut right now. He's in charge of the district up there for PE and guidance services. Dan Govrish is another one of our members. He's actually in his doctoral program at the University of Illinois right now. Chris Meckelberg is another member. He's an elementary PE teacher who also has his doctorate up in Long Island. And then our newest member that we brought on not too long ago over the summer was Doug Hallberg, which is a great addition to our team. He's the last year's National Middle School PE Teacher of the Year. So we got a pretty solid team that kind of covers the whole expanse of K through college ed in terms of phys ed world. So it's a pretty neat little project for us.
Cool. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Now, last year, when I first started noticing you on social media, one of the things you did was you put out a Halloween dance. And I think it was your first dance maybe you put out. It was to Ghostbusters. Mm-hmm. And at the time, I had an extra TV and brought it to school, and I set my tablet up, and I used it as a station. So every class, every kid in my school was dancing to you, Ross, pumping their muscles up. Do you have anything in the works for it this year? Like Halloween style?
Yeah, I'm actually going to be doing, Halloween's obviously coming up. So next week, the kids have been asking about that dance specifically. So I was like, probably next week we'll get to that dance. But I finding the time is so hard to do stuff. I definitely want to do some more dances, but I just got to kind of find the time to do it with everything else. And we were just talking about this before we even kind of went live here about, how you're always being pulled in what feels like a million different directions between family and school responsibilities. And then, other things on top of that you decide to put on top of your plate, in terms of helping the phys ed world. So I got to figure out some more time to make some more dances, but hopefully they'll come soon. What
would be your ideal Halloween dance? Are you like a Thriller kind of guy? Would you do that, or is that too much?
My dances, if you've seen them, they're pretty bare bones basic. I leave the more complicated dancing to the dance crew, like Brandon Herwig. He's got he's pretty good with that stuff, and Scott Williams is pretty good with that stuff. Ben Pirillo is pretty good with that stuff. But the main reason I kind of started my thing was because those dances are great and everything, but I thought that for my K through 2 crowd, especially my students, it was just a little bit too complicated for them. So I kind of wanted to, make some standards-based dances that focused on, just either in cell space or maybe moving around a little bit, kind of combining locomotors and non-locomotors, and just stuff that they can actually do to the beat of the music. Whereas, before, if I try to do like just dance with them on the screen or something, it was just, they were just doing whatever, it wasn't like matching up or, so I thought it was just a little bit too hard for them. So I kind of was like, I need to simplify things a little bit. And that was kind of how that came about. So Thrillers, no, I'm not doing Thriller. That's way beyond me.
Too hard for me also. I mean, I'll try, I'll give it a whirl, but not going to get every move. No. So you touched on it a little bit. You talked about how we're pulled in so many different directions. We have family, we have school, we have everything that we're doing. Clearly one of those things, and it is a very important thing in our life, and many people maybe know this in the Twitter world, but we have a Twitter physical education teacher fantasy football group, which is obviously a huge part of what we do. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like maybe who you've beat this year, who you've lost to, how your season's going, how my season's going, how Tanner's season's going. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was, this is now the second year that we've had it, which is pretty neat. And all three of us are in on it. And we got Mike Martinez, he's in on it too. Kash Alim, he's last year's champion, so he's sporting the trophy right now.
Yeah, he's got bragging rights right now.
He has my trophy right now.
Rex Peebles, who am I missing? Kyle, right? We got Kyle this year.
Matt Eichel.
Matt, yeah. So
Jared Prince is new this year. He's taking over for somebody.
So we got a pretty good group of people in the phys ed world, and we were kind of thrown. I don't know whose idea it was originally to kind of make it happen, but someone just put a tweet out there and was like, "Hey, let's start a fantasy football thing," with just some phys ed people, and it's been awesome. It's been really cool. My team, I had to say, this year, as of right now, I am 5-0. I'm doing quite well in my endeavors in this league, I should say, because I'm in a couple other leagues, but this league I'm definitely doing pretty solid. I'm playing Mike Martinez right now, and he was projected to win by big numbers because he had Saquon Barkley the other night. But right now I am catching up and in the lead. So, sorry, Mike. I hope it works out in my favor. I'm now projected to win 81%, but we'll see what happens.
Now, if Mike watches this, we might get our first thumbs down on YouTube ever.
It'll be working.
I'm fine with it. For the record, I am 1-4. Probably will be 1-5 after this week. So.
And I'm looking at my percentage chance to win is like 53%. I'm in third place. I think I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
Not good, but I'm doing okay.
Yeah. Yeah, the league is pretty neat. I like it. I like being involved with you guys and, being able to share something different, not just PE stuff all the time. It's pretty cool.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of fun to do that. So let's do some more not super PE stuff. As a University of Northern Iowa alum, throw that in there. So we went through different programs, but we both have to love our university. And, it's homecoming week this upcoming week. Because I know that you are really excited about that, just like me. Definitely celebrate that. It wouldn't be homecoming without doing some reflection on our time we spent there. So tell me, let's start off with, who's the most influential teacher you had when you were up at UNI?
Well, the program I went through was pretty neat because it was a 1-year accelerated master's program. So we had some of the university faculty members that would teach us, but we also had people that were brought in from all corners of the world. We had a professor, Peter Chen, that came in from New Zealand. They would fly him in as part of this program. He teaches there at the university level, and they would bring him in for a 3-week course that we would have in the evenings and on the weekends. And then he would fly back to New Zealand. And they brought in Dr. Dr. Paul Schemp from University of Georgia, same kind of deal. I would say that there was a lot of people in that program that really helped to shape the way I teach PE now. I wouldn't be where I am today without that program. I could say that. On a daily basis, the person that had the most influence on me, while he wasn't my university, teacher, was a guy by the name of Rick Schubach, who I work with on a daily basis at Grundy Center Elementary School. And he was the one that really kind of helped me to learn what PE should be like. Not that I didn't, have a good idea of what it was for my undergrad, but it was nothing like how Rick taught. Rick is, to this day, I think, the best teacher that I've ever seen teach. And that was now 10 years ago. He's since retired, and he's enjoying a different part of his life now. But he was a major influence in the way he did things, not just the way that he used technology, and that was kind of the whole theme of the program, but his relationships with the kids. It was just amazing to see how he interacted with them, the way that he structured his classes and was able to maximize activity time and still be able to get them to think in terms of higher order thinking skills and what the kids could do as a result of being in there with him over the years. It was amazing. So he was definitely the biggest influence I had while I was out there. It was really awesome to work with him, and I still stay in touch with him to this day. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I got to spend one day watching him teach. It was just something, as an undergrad at UNI, we got to do just because he was somewhat close, and it was amazing. So for you guys to be able to see that on a daily basis, I bet you guys learned so much more. Now, how about on the lighter side? I'm assuming that you, as a UNI student, definitely went campanealing at homecoming. Were you somebody who would go campanealing? And if not, or if you did, why don't you tell everybody what the campanealing is?
We didn't do that.
No, you did too.
No, we didn't. I'm trying to think. Because again, I was there for that 1 year. We tried to go to all the home games for sure. But we didn't, it's kind of a different experience for us because we didn't live on campus or even in Cedar Falls. We lived in Grundy Center, which was, a 30-minute drive outside of Cedar Falls. And most of our classes, they weren't on campus. Only very, very few of them were on campus. Most of them were in, the school district buildings where we taught, because that was a major part of the program was, we taught all day in either the elementary school, the middle school, or high school. And then in the evening or on the weekends, we had those classes from UNI. So as much as I would have liked to spend more time on campus, I can't say that I did everything that you probably did. We did have some evenings out in Cedar Falls, though. I do remember a couple of evenings at Joker's. That was a pretty.
Leads me to my next question, by the way, since you avoided that. Yeah. My next question is: are you a Main Street or a College Hill kind of guy?
Oh. I like Main Street for the most part. I thought that was a pretty cool spot. Cedar Falls was a neat town. It was a good place when we did spend time there. I thought it was a really interesting kind of place. It had a good vibe to it. When I was in the program, that was the year that you and I had beaten Kansas to go to the Sweet 16. So Ali Farouk Manesh with hitting that three from way out. I remember that very, very intently. But campus wasn't open because it was like spring break or something at that time. So we're like went nuts when that happened, when they won. And then like, oh man, let's go out in Cedar Falls. And like, no one's in Cedar Falls. So,
what's really funny is that's the second time Ali Farouk has been mentioned on this program. We talked about him when Sarah Hartman was on here. Yeah. What? I had to rub that in her a little bit.
And I still don't know
fact about the program.
So,
that's awesome.
Still don't know who the guy is, but I'll Google it. So you touched on a little bit when you're talking about taking your master's program and how it's kind of brought you to who you are now as an educator. Can you talk a little bit about when you first started teaching, like year one to now? How has your classroom or how has your teaching changed?
Yeah, so from when I was out with Rick, it was the most ideal situation, right? So the kids out there, everyday PE. At the time, it was what was called a PE for Life Institute. PE for Life is no longer around. But the kids had everyday PE for 40 minutes at a time. So they had a great experience that way. The school, the whole town in Grundy Center was 2,000 people total. So you're talking about like a super small town. I think the school had 2 classes in each grade level from K through 5. So super tight knit community. Everyone knew everybody. The Rick had written for a PEP grant years before. So in terms of equipment and tech, like it was PE Mecca pretty much. And that was like like the running joke, like PE Mecca is in Grundy Center, Iowa. Like who would have thought that? Compare that to when you walk into what most of us would experience as a completely different side of things in your first real job outside of university level stuff. It was definitely a shock at first because I kind of had to learn to do things a little bit of a different way, but still kind of in the same style that I learned from Rick and whatnot. The equipment that we had a lot of equipment when I first got to my placement now where I am, my same school. But just the culture of the school was very different, much bigger school living in Central Maryland. When I got there to my school, when I started, I think we had like 4 classes in each grade level for the most part. So, at least twice as big as what Grundy Center Elementary was. And the biggest change for me was out in Grundy, it was 1 class that each of us had by ourselves. We never had to share that space with anyone else. When I came to my school where I am now, we had a lot of times where we had simultaneous classes in the gym. So up to 60 or so kids at the same time. And that was like, the thing I had to get used to the most. And my coworker, who is still my coworker to this day, Lauren Heisey, I learned a lot from her in terms of how she did things with management, because obviously it's a lot different, with 60 kids at a time compared to 30 or 25 or whatever it was when I was out in Iowa. That was definitely the biggest change that I had to get used to. And then from there to now, I think that over the years, you take stuff and you tweak stuff. If it works, you kind of put that in the bank, say, hey, this might be a good activity to do again. or hey, this didn't exactly work out how I wanted, or here's some things I can probably tweak to it, do it next time a little bit better, and things like that. And then learning from social media and stuff like that, and bouncing ideas off different people on there, on Twitter, and to some extent Facebook too. Definitely helped to get my teaching to where it is now as well.
That's right. I think that's kind of how a lot of people progress through that. So right on. Hey, you're part of the SPGA team. So how did that happen? I mean, a lot of those people over there in California, and you're a long way from California.
I am. So I was asked to join the team, I guess over maybe like a year and a half now or something like that, probably. Matt Bassett and Rich Wiles and Ryan Jaco, the three of them were the original three amigos with that. But as we talked about before, being pulled in a million different directions, the three of them are very involved in a profession in a lot of different ways as well. And they each have their own families. They each have kids. So, things are really tight with time with them. So they needed to bring on some more people to help out and, kind of share the load a little bit. So I was happy that they asked me to join. I definitely took them up on that offer. It's been a great experience joining the team, along with Sarah Wood joined at the same time I did, and Matt Eichel, and Stephanie Sandino. So there's 7 of us now that run the ESP chat. And it's a great opportunity for people on the Twitterverse to kind of learn from each other every Tuesday night. And we have different topics every Tuesday for an hour at a time. So it's a pretty cool little group to be a part of, and again, help share the passion that we all have for phys ed and how we can move our profession forward, to the next level. I think is a really important thing that all of us have in common that we want to do. This kind of just unites us in that front, and a different kind of project to do so.
Yeah, 100%. So just a real quick fun one before we end. The 3 of us go to a Halloween party. It's a costume party.
Okay.
What are we? How are we dressed? What do we go as so that we can win that baby?
Okay. It's like a team we're trying to be.
Yeah.
However,
theme.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would like to see us go. I kind of like the idea of the 3 amigos from SNL. You guys know about that back in the day? Yeah, wild and crazy. Yeah,
just wild and crazy guys.
Yeah, I think that would be funny if we dressed up as them. Hopefully, it would be a little bit of an older crowd. I don't know if how many of the 20-year-olds, if it was, would know what that would refer to. But I think that would be a sweet little costume for the 3 of us to kind of don and see how it went. That would be pretty awesome.
I'm in.
That'd be nice.
Absolutely.
Go for it. So, before we leave this season, we've been trying to ask everybody, what's this funny story you've got? What's the best thing you can tell us that's going to make us laugh about maybe your teaching career, maybe it happened in class, maybe it happened to you, but something funny phys ed related. What's your story?
This happened actually not too long ago, maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. Kindergarten, which, kindergarten's its own beast. You never know what you're going to get any day when kindergarten comes through those doors. And we had been learning, signals and stuff, and in terms of, okay, start, stop. All right. These, if I ever want you to come over to me, you're going to hear me say, hey, huddle up. So if you hear huddle up, you got to come over to Mr. C, find me wherever I am, have a seat in front of me, because that means I have something really important to talk to you about. So, we're doing some kind of activity. I'm giving them all these different signals, start, stop, things to sit, whatever, 2 claps and a Ric Flair. So then I say, okay, let's go huddle up. So they come over to me, and this one kid just barreling through, just doesn't hit any other kids. I'm not really paying that close to attention because my eyes are up here and he's way down here. He just runs full force right in, hits me right in the groin, and I'm just oh, just right elbow right in the groin. And
I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, I didn't get mad at him or anything, but I was like, oh,
please tell me.
We all gotta have a seat right now. We're all gonna have a seat right here. We guys gotta take a minute.
Please tell me he got there and he stood up and said, I'm here.
Yeah.
There you go.
Did he go, Woo!
Yeah, two claps and a Ric Flair for that one, guy. Woo-hoo!
Hey, Ross, you made it. You made it through episode 5. You made it through all of our questions. Now's kind of the part of our goofy little show where we play some exit music. We wave goodbye to our 12 viewers that we have, and then we'll get her out there and everybody can see who Ross is and what he does. I appreciate you very much coming in. I know Tanner does as well. Thank you,
Ross.
for the time out to talk phys ed with us and more. And until next time, I'm Jason Steele.
And Rose.
And there's Ross.
Adios.
Next time, everybody. Thank you.
See you.